I can only speak to that, obviously, because that is my experience. You're the curator of your own media intake on social media. You can follow accounts that inspire you. You can follow accounts that help you grow and learn and mean something to you. And that's free. There's Facebook groups, there's support groups in your city. Like there's so many ways to go out and access it if you want to. And I know that's not as easy as just doing that. That's a freaking terrifying thing. I've become so empowered by it that the first time I ever went to go to my first therapy appointment, I actually went into the wrong building, and it was like a mental institute, and it was in Vancouver. And I walked in and I said, this feels right. Like I just don't know
Mhm.
which door to go in here. And I was so terrified and so scared, and I was in the wrong building, but like I was so terrified and insecure and wildly insecure about the person that I was at the time.
You were dealing with an addiction to Valium at the time. There was also addling your brain, your perception, how you were dealing with life. What made you quit doing that or know that it was time to quit? And how hard was that? Physically, emotionally, mentally?
Oh yeah, it was. I mean, I'm lucky I wasn't addicted to it for longer than I was. That I feel like, well, my family and my friends were kind of like, "Is this really who you want to be?" Like you were wanting to get out of being a shell of yourself, and now you're just a numb version of
Mm.
yourself. And you don't even want to, like, I'm a very social person, and I was not social. I was just wanting to be numb. And so yeah, the doctor, like, he gave me Valium, and I understand why, because on paper it definitely looked like I needed something at the time, but he was also putting me on antidepressants and Valium, and I started getting weird side effects where if I turned my head this way, my vision wouldn't catch up.
Mm.
Oh,
And like
shit.
it was like I was in a dream constantly. But the scary thing about addiction and that kind of thing is I was like, this is good. This is
Yeah.
good. It means I'm not feeling the things that I was feeling before. So it was kind of my family and friends that were like, again, this isn't you. This isn't who you wanted to be. You went from being a shell of yourself to being a numb person. How can we help you out of this? It was more just having a good support group, being my friends and family, that kind of talked me out of it. And it was choosing other ways, like I got sick from coming off of it because I tried to just come off of it,
Ugh.
and I didn't know the proper way, and nobody taught me how to wean yourself off of these things. And I tried to like go do yoga class, and I would get sick, but I wanted to change it. I wanted to move my body and get outside and do certain things and transition into just like, not relying on a pill or something else. But I was probably doing that for about 4 months, and it took me a good 2 months to come off of it.
Was there anything you was there any moment where you're like, wait, what am I doing? Where like you had to face like, oh, I'm addicted to this. Whoops.
Yes. Yeah. And
Whoops.
I
Can you describe
whoopsies.
it?
Big whoops.
Whoopsie.
I'll never forget. My parents lived at the time they were renting a place on a golf course, and I went to go golfing, and I love golfing. And I went and I was like, actually, I'm just going to go drink a beer and take a Valium because like that just seemed more appealing to me than feeling and going through a golf game.
Oof.
And when I went and did that, I remember sitting at the table, and one of my friends was across from me, and he looked at me and he was like, "Are you even here right now?" And I was like, "No." And he was like, "I don't want to do this. Like this isn't fun for me anymore." And I'm like, "This isn't fun for me either." And I was like, "What am I doing?" And then I went home and cried and slept, of course, because that's what it did to me. And I woke up and I remember that moment being like, "I got to stop this." Like my friends and family don't even want to be around me like this.
What did you see like on his face? Was it fear? Was it sadness?
Both. It was total fear when he was asking me if I was there. Like, are you like, it was fear. And it was kind of like I was like, not really. And then he seemed just like sad for me. And
Oh,
I don't think anybody likes being pitied. And I remember in that moment being like, oh my gosh, I never want somebody to look at me like that again.
Yeah.
eesh.
That
And
is.
what is Valium? What does it feel like to be on Valium?
It felt like nothing nothing mattered but being comfy and numb, and like you were kind of in a dream, but you just didn't really like, nothing phased you, and you just wanted to like, I don't know, I always just wanted to sleep, to be honest with you.
Mm.
I always just felt
Mhm.
like really numb and tired. I liked it for like the 10 minutes of the like woo that you get, and then I just wanted to sleep. And that's all. I wanted the time to pass by sleeping.
And how did that feeling, and I don't want to like shoehorn this, but like, how did that feeling compare to what it felt like to be in your relationship before your kind of spiral?
To me, that felt glorious
Yeah.
because to feel so, I felt useless as a human being with him. And again, that's on me, not him. I just felt like I had no purpose. And that's, to me, is a much worse feeling than just feeling numb, because numb is not feeling anything. And to me, that felt so good to feel nothing, when the other feelings that I had known in my life were just like empty, sad, depressed, anxious, unworthy of anything. Numb was way better than that.
And at the
Mm.
risk of sounding like like someone who is preaching or knows what they're talking about, but when you're in fight or flight and you're in all that adrenaline, which it sounds like you were really in with a boyfriend in Germany and everything, that it is a different part of your brain that is actually taken over. It is our most primitive brain, and it is not rational, and it can't be reasoned with, and you can't calmly talk someone out of that place. It's like a cornered animal, and there is a place for things like Valium to help you transition from that animal brain to a place where you could talk and get out of that crazy cycle. But at the same time, it sounds like it went a little far for
Well,
you.
I wish I could have been coached better by a doctor or by other people who like knew, but it felt like more like, here, take this. You're not well, and we'll see you if you need to come back here. Like that's, and what was really scary is I saw myself going down that same path after being the Bachelorette. That really took a toll on my mental health. And then again, speaking of tools and, having the knowledge and feeling and going through what I've gone through, I knew I'm not going back down that road again. And I could see it starting and the spiraling happening. But that's
Starting
where
how?
it was, because when I came out of it, again, I was like coming off a high of like, I was the Bachelorette and I was put on this pedestal and these guys wanted to date me. And then I come off of it and I'm like, wait, I don't have a job again. I don't know where I'm going to live. I'm in this in-between period where I don't know what my life is going to be. I'm engaged to somebody who is completely shaming me for everything I did on the show.
Yeesh.
And that's supposed to be my like rock at the time, my person, the only other person that could understand what I was going through. And I was just kind of getting it from all angles. And again, I started, well, I'm not going to go out and I'm just going to stay in bed. And I'll just, my friend has lorazepam, I'll just get something if I need it. And I started going down that same spiral again. I was able to stop myself and still be able to feel and still be able to go through a really hard time, and a time where it wasn't my happiest, and without completely numbing myself. So that was a win for me.